Hello, guys. This is my first time doing one of these, so I don't actually remember the formal intro. But welcome, Galaxy Grudge Match Mini. I know it doesn't look mini from the video length, but yeah, we're here today. I'm here today with Nero
Hello.
and Aqua.
Get me out of here!
That was nothing. That was unintelligible. But anyway, Nero and I are going to be debating matches based on Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. And Aqua is going to be here as a semi-impartial judge to
Uh-huh.
figure things out. We both really want to bring Genshin and Honkai onto the channel, and we figured this would be a fun way to do it. Because
Yeah.
we are the only two equipped to do Genshin versus Honkai right now. Okay. Yeah, we picked out 3 matches. I think which one do you want to start with first? I think we should save the big one for last.
Right. Let's get the easy one out of the way. Mona versus Asta.
Okay, so Mona Magistus from Genshin, and Asta from Honkai Star Rail. I'm gonna be taking Asta.
Gonna be grading for the great Mona Magistus.
Okay. And you wrote a scenario for that one, so you can read it.
We'll do. Okay. HoyoVerse has started up once again, and the main HoyoVerses joined together to celebrate the yearly festivities. Mona and Asta decided that they use the event as a way to get some extra cash for their own projects. Problem being is that their shops are across the street from one another, and they vaguely have the same theme. This caused the two of them to have a friendly rivalry with each other to see whose store would be the more successful one.
They got the
And
same
they have
voice
the
actor.
same actress.
Yup.
Yes.
Cool.
Hmm.
Would you like to go first, or should I take it with Asta?
I would like to go first.
Go for it.
Okay. So Mona's whole thing is that she's an astrology. I mean, astrology, obviously, but she's also a fortune teller by peering into the water. By peering into water and whatnot, she can read people's own fortunes. Mhm. And I feel like, and obviously, Mona's own store would be a fortune telling booth. And unlike real fortune tellers, her fortunes are legit. She has never been proven wrong. And I'd argue Mona's genuinely good at handling money, considering she usually saves up all of her. It's revealed in one of the summer events that Mona is just legitimately like really rich, but she only spends all her money on like important stuff like stuff for her research. And as opposed to Asta, she needs other people to manage her money for her, like her assistant Arlen. Arlen manages Asta's bank expenses basically, and I feel like Asta would just carelessly spend all her money, like all the money she earns, just on random things that she thinks are cool. And also, I don't really know what Asta's store would be about. She's a huge nerd about the stars, but I don't see how she can make that exciting. But I mean, she can teach people about the stars, I guess. But Mona's whole thing is just more interesting, in my opinion. That's my argument.
Fair enough. So, you brought up some good points for Mona, but I'm going to be talking about the stargazing astrologist of Herta Space Station, Asta. So again, the connective tissue between these two is they're both like astrology, star signs, all into that type of stuff. The main difference between the two of them in their fields is while I'd consider Mona more of an adept fan who has a lot of knowledge reading like secondhand books and just a bunch of scriptures to learn her magic, Asta, working on the Herta space station, is literally traveling all across, or like seeing all different corners of the galaxy, and is actually in outer space witnessing all this stuff firsthand. So you may question immediately what she would bring in terms of a shop, but there's so much stuff that she's seen in her travels, much less on the Herta space station. There's an entire room filled with relics that are references to other HoyoVerse games and just generally other from all different corners of outer space. While typically she does have Arlen to help her with things, it's not exactly a complete, like, unfounded thing for Mona as well. In the Golden Apple Archipelago quest, which you were alluding to, we do learn that Mona, unlike popular belief where she's just kind of broke, she always doesn't carry money on her person, she is rich, but she spends it almost exclusively on things for her scryer or for her study. And to the point where, like, her best friend, Fischl, had no clue that she was minted and felt kind of cheated because Mona would always, like, get free meals from her family and stuff like that. Asta does get some help from her friend Arlen, but we see in the Topaz trailer that when Herta leaves because she doesn't want to pay the bill, Asta is the one who eventually has to end up covering the finances for the Herta space station. She also has a voice line when pertaining to some of her hobbies, or specifically her hobbies in relation to her job, is that Asta's goal for her crew is continuously channeling funds into constructing the space station, improving employee benefits, and creating a positive feedback loop. So, in terms of actually running a business, I think Asta has a lot better leadership qualities. It helps that generally the Herta space station itself has a lot more amenities, such as soda drinking machines, and there is a shop on the Herta space station already. Even though Asta doesn't run it, she's already a part of a space that has those type of amenities. In comparison, again, despite Mona technically being rich, we do know that when she goes out, she typically herself doesn't carry a lot of pocket money. She literally has an idol where she pulls out her purse and it's just completely empty. Which, fair enough, that's why a lot of Genshin players like her, because they can relate to her, but I don't think that particularly helps her in this scenario. Yeah, so I just feel like Asta generally would have better working conditions for anyone helping her out during this. She's a lot more used to this type of situation. And when it comes to the actual meat of what they're going to be selling, like astrology-related trinkets or what have you, she's got better experience with it. And that's my case for her.
Okay.
Also, she's got a really cute dog named Peppy, who I think would draw in a lot of customers if they were just, like, across the street from one another.
So from what I'm hearing, one has a dog and the other hasn't. So...
Oh my god. Okay, well, because that's that.
No. It's a
Yeah, I know.
I'm kidding.
I know, okay. So, what's your thoughts, Aqua, currently, besides the dog thing?
It does kind of seem... You're debating for Asta, right, Brandon?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of who I'm leaning with, given what was said. I don't know. I feel like a lot of this will boil probably down to the fact that one is visiting like other planets on a fucking star rail, and the other doesn't seem to have that kind of experience where you can sell a lot of that stuff.
Well, I mean, I feel like, I think, Matt, you don't really need to have, like, in Mona's case, you don't really need to have, like, a bunch of, like, people working under you if you're, like, if you can manage everything yourself. I mean, again, Mona's thing would probably be a fortune-telling booth, which are 100% accurate. She can read your fate, and, like, you pay for that. I don't really, it's less effort, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is an interesting aspect she would have to her booth specifically, but I think if the main overarching theme, if that both of them would be trying to do, because both the characters are known in universe for being like astrology star sign characters, and I think Asta would just have a lot more to back that up. I feel like fortune telling is a less successful way to turn a profit compared to just running a general store.
I mean, well, what would, like, Asta sell in her store? I mean, like, again, I mean, you bring up, like, her, like, the objects on Herta space station, but aren't those all Herta's? Like,
yeah, she wouldn't be able to sell, like, the glider or anything, but I feel like because of all the different connections the Herta space station has, I'm sure she could get different relics from Bellobog or the Lafu or Penacony or whatever. Why go to Penacony for a good sip of Soul Glad when you can get some right here in HoYoVerse?
Ooh.
trying to think of. I'm trying to think of more. So do you think Mona would exclusively just go the fortune telling route?
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like it's her shtick basically. Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, I just don't. I feel like there's a bit more you can do if you have just all the connections Asta has. I think she's also just generally a bit more responsible because she has such an important role in the space station as opposed to Mona, who's just kind of her own. I don't even know what Mona does. She's just kind of she's not a part of the Adventurers Guild, but she's kind of around.
No, but she also like. But they also use her studies it like directly in the fucking in Sumeru and the academia.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Where do you you're standing? Are you still leaning on one side or the other, Aqua?
I'm still kind of on Team Asta. I feel like even with fortune telling, that's something in comparison to what Asta brings to the table. Just doesn't seem that worth it in comparison, I guess, if that makes sense.
Mona's also like colloquially known as like the broke girl. I know that's not true. Like we see in Golden Apple that she's perfectly fine, but that's just kind of just the stigma around Mona.
Well,
yeah,
people in the HoyoVerse don't know that. I mean, like from other worlds.
Oh, is it actual fans of HoyoVerse going to it, not their friends?
I don't. What the scenario says is just bunch of universes just coming together just to celebrate festivities.
If it was HoyoVerse fans, unfortunately, Mona is like infinitely more popular as a character than Asta. But if it's just other people from different universes, that's interesting.
And I still think I'm sticking with Asta simply because I know Mona's popular, but I don't think that'll mean much in the grand scheme of things when one character has so much more to offer. I feel like most people would think about that too.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. There you go. Cool. So yeah. Also, I was kind of holding this back, but Mona can't read people's fates from different worlds. I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up.
Right. Okay. I wanted to give her something. I don't want to just say like her one power is useless. Okay.
I mean, if you're not from Monster, I mean, you probably be more interested in Mona's thing, but you know.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So second debate we have is another one where I'll be going for Honkai, Nero will be going for Genshin. It's Hu Tao versus Guinaifen. So I'll be going for Guinaifen and Nero will be going for Hu Tao. And I wrote the scenario for this one.
Ooh.
Okay. After the events of the Fixtral Garden, Stella acknowledged that her team of ghost-hunting friends deserved a much-needed vacation. Taking the Astral Express on a detour, the crew and their guests, including one Lady Guinaifen, departed for a region not dissimilar to the Luofu, but with far more hustle and bustle. They had arrived in the city of Liyue during Lantern Rite season. The young street performer was enamored by her new surroundings and immediately began recording videos of the festivities for her channel. As she wandered off and started vlogging to her audience, a young woman with red bud pupils idled curiously at these intergalactic tourists. Hu Tao, in her classic mischief, entered frame and began promoting the Wangshen funeral parlor, offering wholesale on coffins, tombstones, and other grief paraphernalia. Little Gui was shocked, not by the subject matter, but the fact that her stream was now sponsored. She had no idea of the service she just accidentally endorsed, so she scurried to end the live stream. Lady Hu Tao beamed a grin when she realized her conjecture was being live-streamed the world over, as Guinaifen now felt some obligation to justify to her viewers that this stranger didn't just alter the trajectory of her career. After some apologetic discussion, odd inspiration, and a little bit of egging each other on, it was decided that Guinaifen would be taking over the funeral parlor temporarily, while Hu Tao would enter the world of social influencing, to save face and spread her services respectively. Who will succeed at the other's job? Okay, so I can talk about Guinaifen first. This one.
Alright.
Okay. So immediately, the thing that would come to anyone who knows this character is that she's kind of a silly goofball, so you would believe that wouldn't bode very well with running a funeral parlor. But the same goes for Hu Tao. The big thing about Hu Tao is that when she inherited the funeral parlor after her grandfather passed away. No one believed she could do it because she was kind of a mean-spirited prankster, but she was able to drop that kind of carefree demeanor and like perform things incredibly professionally. So in order for Green Eye Fen to win, that is what she's going to have to do in this scenario. So I looked into her voice lines and her backstory because I wasn't super familiar. I use her, but I'm not entirely familiar with her in-universe backstory. She similarly lost her parents. Her dad was not pronounced dead, but when the Antimatter Legion came to her planet, she woke up the next day and her family were all refugees on a station. And then her mother donned space soldier outfit, a space soldier attire, and tried to fight them back. So at the end of her backstory, what we essentially have is a girl with many siblings who are now refugees and are a part of the Luofu. So she didn't get a proper goodbye to her dad. So it is, essentially in her eyes, she is dead. So she understands the feeling of loss and grief very well. Her outward demeanor is more so just a good escape mechanism for her. She's a very bubbly and outgoing person, but she does know when to take things seriously and has a mature side to her and a good head on her shoulders. She even has a voice line. If you still aren't convinced that she'd be able to handle type of stuff that goes on in funeral homes, that short-lived species like us have a fleeting existence. So she kind of is aware of the same mortality that general humans have. She's very energetic like Hu Tao, but she's a lot more respectful to the people around her. Hu Tao's kind of like is known in universe to be kind of a prankster. Even to a lot of her close friends, they have a lot of voice lines that Hu Tao is just kind of she could be kind of a nuisance sometime, especially to Zhang Liu, who is like her coworker. I could see Green Eye Fen being a lot more easygoing with him and wouldn't be constantly like pulling at his hair. She has dealt with the supernatural, maybe not to the extent Hu Tao has, but there is a whole quest in Star Rail where her, Ho Ho, Sushang have to exorcise spirits. And her Green Eye Fen's thing is that she's a street performer, but again, that was a means to an end in order to keep herself clothed and fed. She herself proclaims that she's really good at quickly learning skills as long as it's able to keep her livelihood, keep her and her family in a good living condition. Also helps that she's always surrounded by these little lion dogs that represent prosperity and guardianship. Now Hu Tao is becoming a social influencer. I'm not gonna harp on the obvious low-hanging fruit that her rapping sucks, because it is enjoyed in universe. But like I said, Hu Tao is kind of like generally mean-spirited. She's very old-fashioned and has a very bleak sense of humor. So I'm not sure, at least without hearing Nero's arguments, I'm not sure immediately what she would be able to do to pull in an audience. I could also see Hu Tao potentially getting cancelled. She has a very strict code about death, where she believes that death is like a very natural order and it shouldn't be impeded. So much so that the character Chi-Chi has canonically been attempted kidnapped by Hu Tao. She's tried to kill her. So if that ever got out, or if Hu Tao ever had to make a comment on a similar controversy, I could see that not boding well with viewers. So I think Green Eye Fen has all the means to successfully... She has the mindset to successfully run the funeral parlor. But Hu Tao's personality will make her a bit polarizing. And that's it.
Alright. Okay. So, yeah. Hu Tao is being a streamer now, which you might ask, what the fuck is she gonna do for her career, her social influencing career? Well, I think Hu Tao can specialize in being a variety streamer, since variety streamers who do multiple things like Moist Critical and like a lot of VTubers, they do more than just play like video games and all that, but they branch out and do other things which get them more traction, and they cast their net into a wider audience. So, and Hu Tao can specialize in ghost hunting streams, prank streams, poetry battles, which something Gwenfin also does in her streams, and by extension, rap battles also, which Brandon has mentioned. Rap battle streams against her good friend Sing Cho, you know, and unlike Gwenfin, Hu Tao just has a lot like more connections. So she can like collaborate with other people on streams and have people help her out. Again, there's the previously mentioned Xingqiu, Chong Yun, who is also a someone who like hunts spirits down. Yeah, basically Xiang Ling, who is her chef buddy, which also another thing she can do cooking streams. Xinyan, Xinyan and Yunjin are her like musical friends, so they can help out. They can help out in like other things, music collabs, yada yada. Catching, just like he kind of just like catching Xiao, obviously, who is like a living legend basically, and her the previously mentioned Zhang Li, Venti, and Farina, who is the literal like who was a big star in Fontaine canonically. And you mentioned Hu Tao's like her eccentric personality might be like a downside, but like that's something that like people in universe and out of universe acknowledge, and that's why she has her reputation in both, again, our world and also in game. So I feel like everyone likes dark humor every now and then, but Hu Tao also just like, and I can see like her like pranking someone real bad like as a bad thing, but also she's also just nice and she knows when she's gone too far and actually tries to apologize to people. Like there's a voice line from Xiangling again. She mentions how Hu Tao, she pranks her all the time, but she always like pays her back by giving her pickled plums basically. And I can see this being like Hu Tao doing this like a Mr. Beast video where she like trashes someone's house, just giving them a nicer house, or something like that, So yeah, pretty good. And I think Gwenfin is just gonna have like a hard time just trying to like learn the ropes of being the Wang Sheng funeral director, because I don't doubt that she can make a tactful funeral for the deceased, but being the director also involves performing funeral rites for adepti, which are like godly beings, and this is something that the traveler had to do in the first Leo AQUA'S, where they had to they had to go all around Leo just to get like these 3 objects for the ceremony, which I don't think Guanifin would know if would know about and have trouble doing it. And also, part of being the funeral parlor director is also like making sure that spirits go away in peace. Balancing yin and yang, which is something that Hu Tao showcases off in her character quest. And according to Hua, Guanifan just has a lot of positive yang energy, like which is if you know anything about the character Chong Yun, is what spirits ghosts away. So, yeah, and obviously it's not at the level of Chong Yun, but like it's gonna be a lot harder for her to make ghosts just like rest. Those are my arguments.
That's fair.
Ooh,
very fair.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite Honkai character
right
coming
now...
to bite me in the ass. Thanks, Hoho.
I do feel like, is it Hu Tao?
Yeah,
is that their name?
Hu Tao's the guy.
So, yeah, I think Hu Tao seems way more reliable, I'll be honest. Just going off of what was presented, isn't Hu Tao supposed to be like the influencer, right?
Yeah.
It does seem like a lot of what they can do seems way easier to pull off, especially with their, at least from what Nero described, their friends and just how they're known. Their personality would be way more interesting to watch, and that would lead to a lot more people wanting to watch them, as opposed to Gwyneth, who has to get used to like the ritual thing or whatever they're doing at the funeral.
I suppose my main counter to that is I don't think she'd be completely out of her depth, because like I said, Zhang Li, aka the Archon, is a employee of the Wangshen funeral parlor as like a farce. The only reason he wasn't able to help the traveler is because he was staging. So it was Morax's funeral that traveler had help with, right? Yeah, so he was pretty much not helping the traveler because that was his own funeral that was being staged. The positive yang energy is a good point, but I think like there's a clear difference where Chong Yun's is almost like a disability that he's just has so much of this energy that like is innately bound to him compared to the rest of his family. They just can't do the exorcism stuff. And I feel like if the exorcism portion of the job is something that she's faltering in, if Hu Tao can get her friends for the social influencing gig, I don't see why like Ho or some of the other 10 lords couldn't also be of service.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like the idea of rap battle streams. That sounds as bad as I know that would be for me or for us. The people in the universe love it.
I love it. Fuck you.
Chong Yun thought like he saw the second coming of Christ when he saw Hu Tao performing. He thought that was awesome.
Exactly.
Bro, finally watched Godzilla vs. Kong rap battle.
No.
Yeah.
I do. One thing I don't remember hearing a counter for. Didn't you say Hu Tao is like very easily cancelable? Like,
I mean, yeah, like it's if the topic of death comes up, which is admittedly a little uncommon, Hu Tao could say some pretty unhinged things.
I mean, I don't.
I guess my own.
You first, so I can counter.
I was gonna say, I feel like the main problem with that, sadly, is that there are so many YouTubers to this day that still like are like content creators in general. But like, despite them doing bad things, they still have like massive audiences. But
She tried to kidnap a baby, a disabled baby.
Well, her owner, her caretaker is like fine with it. He's like, they're just playing, it's fine. But like Baiju does not have a problem with Tao. You know.
I think Brandon, I feel
aware.
like you underestimate the internet's ability to just let shit happen.
Yeah, if anything, that'll just make her more popular.
Oh no!
It's like the O.J. Simpson effect.
Oh no! Don't compare Hu Tao to... Jesus Christ! Okay, if so, is Hu Tao who you're leading with?
Yeah.
Very fair. No, the point about the Yang spirit was something I didn't even consider. That seemed like the death knell. Fair enough. Yeah. Okay.
Yay.
Hu Tao.
Now we're tied.
Hu Tao 1, Asta 1, Honkai Genshin are both tied. So now we got the big boy, the one that is probably gonna take up a bit more time because there's so many moving pieces. Okay, this is just probably the bulk of the video. We've got Genshin's Archons versus Honkai Star Rail's Stellaron Hunters. And you did a scenario for that one.
Yeah, I'll read it out. Elio informed the Stellaron Hunters that multiple artifacts possess similar energy readings to that of a Stellaron, and they have been found on a faraway planet in the corner of the universe. Upon arriving on the planet, Elio also informed the Hunters that godly beings known as Archons possess these artifacts. So, will the Hunters be able to nab the Gnosis, or will the Archons successfully protect their nations?
So this is pretty much Genshin's gods versus Honkai's villains. So, the villains who are constantly after the Stellaron, they're going to be going after the Gnosis. And I'll be taking the Archons.
And I'll be taking the Hunters.
Cool. I'll start first.
Alright.
To not waste any time, and I know also because there are some teammates who have not finished this quest yet, I'm just gonna come outright and say, Farina, I love you. You're not helping me win this. Farina is not. There's not that much I can die on the hill with for Farina. However, having a 4v5 is still really not that big of a disadvantage. It's hardly a 4v5 at that. So the Archons are all either chosen, victors, or inheritance of and a great battle called the Archon War, where these powerful chess pieces called the Gnosis that grant their user insane like, world-bending abilities fell into the clutches of sovereigns who would control the region. So, in my lineup, we've got Venti or Barbados, Zhongli or Morax, Raiden Shogun or Ball, Nahida or Boor, and I'll get Farina, but yeah. In comparison, we're up against Kafka, who is like the surrogate leader of the group, Blade, Silverwolf, Sam, and Elio. Elio is pretty helpful on paper with their ability to foresee future events, but we really don't know enough about Elio, much less that they're not even really an on-field player. They more so are working from the shadows and helping like assign the Stellarons where they're going to go. So, in a more traditional 4v4, I just think the sheer experience, power, and abilities that the Archons possess are just going to be far too much for the Stellaron hunters, who are more used to playing things by the books. To begin with, the Archons wielding the Gnosis and being the chosen ones of the Divine Principles have an insane amount of elemental energy at all of their fingertips. Venti mentions how Vision Bearers, who are like the mortals in Genshin Impact, their abilities to control elemental energy are incredibly primitive compared to the power of an Archon. Primitive, we're talking about, when Venti says primitive, we're talking about characters that can create giant blizzards, typhoons, hurricanes, tons of natural disasters, and this is meant to be primitive compared to the powers of an Archon. We know that Barbados is pretty much the sole reason Mondstadt is shaped the way it is, blowing the heads off of mountaintops, raising and lowering the seas, causing natural blizzards that coat the entirety of Dragonspine. They're pretty much ecologically responsible for most of the happenings in their region. Raiden can create lightning storms. Zhongli can rip meteors from outer space and chuck them at people. So they've just got a ton of power on their hands. I know if we were to look at Star Rail, technically from like a versus standpoint, they've had all this cool scaling to like planet busting and like antimatter BS. But in the context of like the narrative, the Archons are generally just complete forces of nature and are divine beings. So, go through them one by one. Venti, despite his admittedly carefree demeanor, like first appearances, you would assume Venti is kind of a goofball and would be second in line behind Farina. But we know from the Archon War, Venti has an insane kill count on his head and is like definitely leading on more than of his appearances first, than like his goofy demeanor, like I said. So he'd be most comparable to someone like Sam, who is said to be in universe just like a crazy, ruthless, armored fighter. But again, because of Venti's ability to Venti can control Anemo, so his ability to just control hurricanes, storms, winds, monsoons, and all of that, he would be incredible at like just keeping the Stellaron hunters away. Much more, all of the Archons, most of the Archons, not Raiden, have access to like a divine dragon who were rulers of the region before the Archons took power. And Venti has the dragon Storm Terror, who is pretty similar to Venti's own elemental power with Anemo. The main way Venti's Gnosis got taken away in the story was that the Abyss had to take control of this dragon, which I'm not sure if the Stellaron hunters could do immediately, not knowing like the same type of mystic arts that the Abyss know. Their stuff is more technology based. And the way Venti's Gnosis was eventually taken from him is that after he, Traveler, Diluc, and Jean are able to defeat Storm Terror, they're so debilitated at that point that it's just like he just gets caught off guard by Signora, and that way his vision is taken. If Venti is cutting the jokes and is fully intent on taking on the Stellaron Hunters, he's probably just going to be merciless with them. Considering we know that Gnosis can do a ton of crazy stuff like body altering, it can like pretty much Venti's appearance right now is that of a deceased friend. So Venti could become all sorts of people, all like whatever they want to. No one in Mondstadt even knows Venti is the Archon. Zhongli is the second in command. Like I said, ripping meteors outer space. Also has a giant elemental dragon that can create earthquakes and stuff. But for the intents of when they arrive to Liyue, the Geo Archon is pronounced dead. So they're going to have to figure out, again, another face bleeding into the crowd, hiding their Gnosis, who can pop up with insane elemental power. Dong Li is able to create shields that can blockade people from one another. So if he really wanted to separate the Stellaron Hunters or crush them within a shield, there's nothing really stopping him from doing that. A character like Silver Wolf, who's heavily reliant on using futuristic technology, is going to be really out of her element in a more rustic, lumber-looking area like Liyue, or most of Genshin Impact in general. Then we have Raiden Shogun, who, despite having a lower kill count than Venti, with her and her sister Makoto combined, is probably the scariest character they're going to have to face. Considering that she was able to fight the clone of herself, the Raiden Shogun, Raiden A was able to fight the Raiden Shogun for 500 years straight with no breaks. Blade is a great fighter and all that, but I don't think he's going toe-to-toe with anyone who has like the stamina to kick for 500 years. And then there's Nahida, who is the character I think is going to be incredibly tricky for them to find out, because Lesser Lord Kusanali, Nahida, is pretty much a physical anomaly when the Traveler enters Sumeru. She hardly physically exists. She exists in the dreamscape because the people... Archon's power is directly tied to the faith of the people, and the people rejected the Lesser Lord Kusanali. So, for all intents and purposes, she doesn't physically exist. In order for them to find her, they're going to have to all link their minds to the Akasha, which is a giant terminal of knowledge in Sumeru. And this is really bad, considering Nahida, directly linked to the Akasha, has the ability to flood people's brains with so much energy with so much information that they explode. It's the Gojo thing.
Oh, God damn it.
Yeah. Okay. So, Nahida specifically also uses her Gnosis in such a creative and pretty cheap way. When Traveler's fighting Scaramouche, it's revealed at the end of the fight that she had put them through like a dozen different loops and scenarios of the battle. So she can keep resetting and refreshing the battle until she gets the outcome that she desires. So overall, lots of different factors each Archon is bringing to the table. All of them are these indomitable forces of nature, tons of battle experience from centuries. The Stellaron Hunters rely a lot on modern technology, so I think they're just going to be out of their depth in the more... in the past that in the past that Teyvat is set relative to the events of Honkai Star.
All right. Okay. Good points. So I guess I should introduce the Stellaron Hunters. So the Stellaron Hunters are led by Elio, also known as Destiny's Slave, and his whole thing is that he has the ability to see into possible futures, and he allows us to come up with plans. He comes up with scripts that the Stellaron Hunters follow in order to reach whatever destiny he kind of like foresees. That's yeah. So he's basically just like he's the head honcho, but they do all the dirty work. And I think the biggest thing I feel like that's going for the Stellaron Hunters is that the Archons, they don't really fight together, but the Hunters do. There are a lot of examples of just the Hunters just teaming up just to accomplish their missions. Like Kafka, like in the beginning of Star Rail, Kafka and Wolf teamed up on the Herta spaceship mission. Kafka and Blade were paired together on the Lafu mission, and currently on Penacony, it's up to Wolf and Sam to do whatever the fuck they're gonna do. Yeah, we don't know yet. So, and each of them are all skilled fighters in their own right. So Kafka, she's a trained assassin who's literally incapable of feeling fear, and she uses these strings that can tangle multiple people at once. So, mhm. Mhm. And then she also has an ability called Spirit Whisper, that allows her to hypnotically manipulate others through her voice. More on that later. Silver Wolf can basically just hack reality itself. She can create portals. She can battlefield remove like people away, and can make and most importantly here is that she can make the Archons weak to an elemental attack. And in Silver Wolf's case, she has her element type is Quantum, which is an element that's never been on Tevat before. Blade, he's an immortal master swordsman who wants to die. So, and the only reason why he joined the Stellar Hunters is because Kafka promised him death. So I feel like he's just gonna go all out against an Archon if it finally meant he gets to die. And then there's Sam, who in his boss fight he can create a large field of fire that hurts people whenever they use any elemental attacks, which would really hurt the Archons, whose main thing are, like you said, the Gnosis and their elemental powers. And plus he can fly, so if anyone of them like tries to escape, like Venti or something, they're not getting very far. And his suit of armor just has a lot of like shit to go like missiles and whatnot. And you brought up how like the Archons like and how like they use their Gnosis and whatnot, but I don't think the Archons will use the Gnosis because there are like a lot of examples of them just because a lot of them don't think they need it. Like Raiden, she kind of trapped herself in the in the plane of Euthymia, and she literally just tossed out her Gnosis because she didn't really need it anymore. Venti, Venti said himself that if he wanted to rule his nation, he needed to rule his nation if he wanted to like make full use of the Gnosis, which Venti refused to do because he's the Archon of Freedom, basically. And in terms of fighting, I think the only like real like in terms of fighting, the only real threats are going to be like Zhongli and Raiden. Like I said, like Venti, he states that he's just the weakest Archon, and again, he doesn't use his Gnosis, which is kind of the reason why someone like Senor, who should be significantly weaker against him, gets the upper hand against him. And you mentioned Farina, just fucking yeah. And Nahida, she isn't really much of a fighter. She isn't much of a fighter. She's more support. But like, and again, like you said, her strength is coming from just trapping people in the simulations until she gets the result she wants. So without any muscle backing her up, she's going to be pretty useless. I'm not sure how valid of a point this is, but in the latest update, in the Penacony update, Sam and Silverwolf have experience being in dream worlds, basically, which is kind of what the Nahida simulation is. That's one of the main plot points of the Archon quest, is that people are just trapped in a dream, in a dream simulation. If they can figure that out, then we can probably like, I argue, escape from the dream simulation. And onto Raiden, like you said, she's probably one of the scariest Archons to go against, but her main ability is to disable visions to disable the elemental powers of people in Tevat. But it doesn't work on people who aren't from Tevat, so the hunters aren't going to be affected. And I mentioned this earlier. Kafka's Kafka's fucking her Spirit Whisper, how she can like just manipulate people just through talking to them. I feel like she can, if a possible win condition for the hunters against Raiden is just the hunters inciting the nation of Inazuma to rebel against Raiden, because they've caused something called the Jabella Rebellion, which is like they cause an entire planet to rebel against their leaders. And I do think Zhongli is the biggest threat here, but given how he's outnumbered and he's outnumbered, and he's going up against people who can just lower his stats. You can argue, since Zhongli fights with Geo, he can catch the hunters off guard, since that's something they never had to deal with before. But I don't think Zhongli has any ways of capitalizing on this. And again, I feel the hunters just have way much more to go against him. Yeah, that's it.
Fair. That's a fair argument. You can say where you're standing right now, Aqua, but I do have quite a few counterpoints.
I'm very mixed.
There's a lot we put on you at one time.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot. It does kind of seem like Nero's side entirely hinged on going at the Archons one-on-one. At least that's how it came off to me. Because one of their last arguments was that if it's just the one person they thought was a major threat and then they were outnumbered, then it wouldn't matter.
I will say,
that also implies...
just for your context, that is a very fair argument. The Archons are all distinctly in their own region. They don't really act as one force.
So I'm confused. Are they attacking one by one, or are they...
I would assume they would be going the same order that the Traveler did. So Venti first, then Zhongli, then Raiden.
I feel like isn't Zhongli the main one that Nero was kind of worried about?
It seems like... I'm curious why you say Zhongli, because I really think Raiden and Nahida are the two that are going to be very difficult to...
I guess lore-wise, Zhongli is just the strongest one. Just like that's mainly it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my main concern then is if the main one you're going after is right after Venti, who, from what I've been told, is also pretty capable given that kill count, and then you're having to, even if they get past that one, then they have like two other really strong ones to get through.
Let's talk about Spirit Whisper.
It's that logical.
Let's talk about Spirit Whisper. So, it is true that Kafka has the ability to brainwash people, and that is a very good argument. But, again, for three of the Archons, Zhongli actually notwithstanding this argument, I think there are counters for it. So, if Kafka is trying to Spirit Whisper the entirety of Mondstadt, so Venti loses their divinity, pretty much the entire point of that quest was Storm Terror getting brainwashed by the Abyss. So she would have to move like incredibly quickly, or know to go for Venti off the bat, who again not a known quantity as the Archon, in order for this type of plan to be successful. So they've got experience breaking characters out of brainwashing. Immediately, they're going to assume the Sovereign of Inazuma with Raiden, the Raiden Shogun, who is the puppet, is the character that they need to go for, which is not the case. And at that point, if he ends up fighting Raiden A, or any of the Stellaron Hunters fight Raiden A, the only character that you said seems to be able to escape a type of dimension is Silverwolf. Like, yeah, Sam and Wolf are both in Penacony, but the difference between Penacony and, we'll say, the Plane of Euthymia or the Dream World in Sumeru is that Penacony is, like, very clearly another world. You literally, it's so much more vibrant and so much, literally cartoonish compared to reality. There are cartoon characters walking around. Billboards have cartoon eyes. But the whole thing with the Sumeru Dream World is that it was so indistinguishable from reality that physical weeks passed by before anyone was able to suspect that things were awry. And then, yeah, I feel like Spirit Whisper is a pretty good method for them to lose some of that power or divinity, but I think Kafka is going to somewhat struggle to pick out who is the right person to Spirit Whisper.
Right.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
I just remembered. Didn't like Silverwolf literally just like break into the Herta's like simulated universe in her like quest when she was out? I feel like she would, and again, it's I don't. It's called simulated universe. It's a universe that's kind of, I'd argue, is indistinguishable from like the real world. So I feel like Wolfie just has a lot more. She can just figure it out.
I think Wolfie's definitely the person I see dealing with Nahida the best. But again, Nahida's main weakness is that she lacks the physical experience and physicality to fight these characters one-on-one. Her best method, if the time loop stuff proves fruitless, or she can't lock them in the chain like she did with Scaramouche, is to fill their brains with so much information that they're pretty much an invalid. That was what was I gonna say? Yeah, and in order for them to even get access to Nahida, in turn the Gnosis, is to link their consciousness to the Akasha.
Let's see. I feel like, I guess I'm kind of just hinging on this being like my main thing, but like Elio, again, him just like knowing, like just reading possible timeline, just can just like reliably like help guide the hunters.
That's fair.
And they don't really question like what Elliot tells them to do. Like I remember in the LaFu quest, Blade was about to kill Don Hung, but then he just backed off because he remembered that Elio wanted him alive. So it's like they're pretty willing to follow his Elio's scripts. Again, it's up to you to like figure out how reliable Elio's scripts are.
I think because of the vagueness of Elio, I think it's fair. Like just for the sake of this argument, I don't want to hinder you by saying, "Oh, we don't know, so they're not reliable." I'll say that they are pretty reliable, and they'd be like good intelligence for it. But I guess if we were to break it down, if I were to break my arguments down character by character and see how the hunters would lose, and you could do this in return for the Archon. Kafka's Spirit Whisper seems situational, and her whole goal as a Stellaron hunter is to understand the concept of fear. She's not as blatantly suicidal as Blade, but I think against someone like Raiden Shogun or Zhongli, that carefree demeanor is going to eventually crumble. I know the whole thing about Venti is that he claims that he's the weakest Archon, but one of them is a baby. I feel like Venti definitely knows a lot more than he's leading on and is intentionally pulling his punches just to gain the trust of the Traveler. These type of people aren't trying to befriend Venti like the Traveler is, so I think you have more reason to kind of go all out against them. So that's Kafka. Blade, in terms of a physical confrontation, like you mentioned, fought Dun Hung, who is a seasoned fighter, but is not as experienced as someone as Zhongli or Raiden. And Raiden has the perfect way to get rid of a Mara-struck character with the Musano Hitotachi, her sword, that while these type of characters are able to take antimatter attacks from the Antimatter Legion, especially Silverwolf, the Musano just straight up cuts through dimensions. So I don't think they have any immediate defenses for just being severed into another dimension. Silverwolf seems to be the one that is the most tricky for me, because she does have a lot of really good hacks to counter someone like Nahida, or has quantum stuff that the other characters haven't dealt with. But in a similar vein, she lacks the physical experience as a combatant like Nahida. She's a gamer. She's like, her whole thing is creating avatars that she's playing in a simulated reality. Her games are so unfun that she had to resort to a crime. So I feel like with someone like Nahida, who has similar hacks to her, but has an immediate way to get rid of her, because I don't think her battlefield removal will be as useful, especially not against someone like Raiden, who could enter Pocket Dimension. I think Silverwolf will eventually be outmatched. And Sam, from a gameplay perspective, has a lot of good ways to deal damage to the Archons, but as it stands, just as a brute, like a mechanical mech suit brute, I don't see him faring as well against more seasoned, experienced characters with abilities. Also, I'm not gonna hinge too much on this, because this is unfounded, can totally be wrong, and is based off of leaks. But Sam very well could be a physically, terminally ill girl piloting a robot suit that got stabbed in the chest by an insect and died. So that's not an actual point I'm hinging on, but that would be funny if that ended up being true.
Okay.
You can if you have like basically, I guess the best way for Aqua to visualize it is how to reinstate how you think each Archon would go down to the hunters.
Okay. So like I said earlier, Venti, he doesn't like using his Gnosis, and even when like said Gnosis is being threatened, he didn't even go all out. And I feel like even if like I feel like the best thing he'd do is try to escape from the hunters, but then again they have reliable ways of just tracking him down, just taking the no-seas from him. That's what I feel, because again he doesn't like using the no-seas. He doesn't because he'd rather just I mean, if he thinks like I feel like he'd go after the hunters, considering again he's the Archon. He wants to protect his nation. He just confront them and then just get his ass kicked. I think, and again, then the hunters just have ways of just like lowering his stats, hurting him if he uses his elemental powers, and are generally just better, just more competent fighters. Zhongli, if they followed Elio's script perfectly, perfectly, which again they tend to do, they always do. They're just gonna get Zhongli and they just gang up on him until he just coughs up the no-seas. And in terms against someone like Raiden, if they're all just trapped in the plane of Euthymia, again, the best way of getting out is just beating up Raiden. I feel like, and unlike Raiden, they can capitalize on hurting. They can capitalize on using her powers against her, because against Sam, she hurts people, because Sam can hurt people who use their elemental powers, and Silverwolf can just make her weak against like something like fire, like constantly. Against Nahida, against Nahida, I say you say Wolfie isn't much of a fighter compared to Nahida, but no, she actually just goes out and fight again the Antimatter Legion, like in her trailer, and she's just shown to be a really competent fighter just against other foes, and I feel like in a one-on-one fight, just if it was just Nahida versus Silverwolf can just kick Nahida's ass, because unlike Wolfie, Nahida just doesn't have any like muscle to back herself up, and doesn't have the experience, the fighting experience, and it's for they wash. I don't mean to just constantly dog on Farina. I love her.
I love Farina so much. Like the strength,
Farina.
The strength of the character is not indicative of the quality of the character. Farina is one of the best. Is one of just the best characters.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've info dumped the hell out of you, Aqua. It's totally fine if like you're not incredibly confident in your decision, regardless, because we just kind of like lambasted everything. We clearly like these series, but if you were so inclined to pick one side, who are you siding with?
I feel like I'm Jogo getting hit by the infinite void right now.
Yeah, this is the Nahida brain explode.
I think for now, based off what was given, I'm leaning the Archons. I think they're too much. I think a lot of the arguments against them rely on very specific shit. But that's just me.
Hey,
okay,
fair enough. Ooh. I really wanna do Genshin and Star Rail on this channel.
Me too.
Yeah, but if there's an audience for that, leave some comments. It's fun to talk about. I can go on. You could give me 20 of these matches, and I would be able to talk about them off the bat.
Same here.
Okay, I'm glad you agreed. Okay, so we're gonna do a Trailblazer versus Traveler. Who's cool?
Fucking well, obviously it's Kiana Castellana. She's the coolest one.
Ooh, but she's not the intergalactic batter. They don't have a baseball bat. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, she does. No, she literally does.
Does she? Oh, okay.
Yeah, she does. She has a baseball.
Never mind. Okay, Kiana wins the Pro Tag Royale.
Oh, cool. It's 2-2. We're tied. Wow.
Wow.
We need to do Genshin Scenario for real now to make this tie up.
We really wrapped that one up quickly compared to the Archon one. But yeah. Okay. Thanks for watching. Super fun. We'll hopefully do some proper Genshin and Star Rail stuff too. And thank you for watching. EGM not many long. Bye.
Bye.